A couple weeks ago, we did a video on the first digital Juno, the Juno G and the Juno D, and talked about how it didn't really live up to the original analog Junos. It was only inspired in that it was a budget price point. Today, we're going to talk about that time Roland released their first digital Jupiter. Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Zach Marr from Alamo Music here in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications. This is our Alamo Sound Lab channel where we talk about all things music tech related. And today we're talking about the first digital Roland Jupiter. And that is kind of like a very sacred thing. So for Roland to put JP or Jupiter on one of their digital products, they were making a statement. Especially because the Jupiter 4, 6, 8, the MKS 80 were also loved and legendary at the time and have really had a legacy. It was kind of a thing. To put JP-8000 on something, it was kind of like, wow. And so you can only imagine people, if you read the reviews at the time, people were like, wow, is this going to live up to the legacy, the heritage of the Jupiter series? And like the Juno D and the Juno G, that was a tall order. And I'm happy to say that, in my opinion, I think this does a lot better job living up to that heritage of the Jupiter line than the Juno G and the Juno D did the Juno series. So let's talk about the JP-8000. Really interesting synth. It is associated with kind of trance, its claim to fame is its super saw, which is this like really aggressive sawtooth waveform. It's like you hear it in a lot of 90s trance and kind of intense electronica. And that's cool and all. It's one of the unique things about this synth is the super saw, the triangle mod, and the noise and feedback oscillators. They're different. That's kind of one of the innovations that went into this VA synth from Roland. This was Roland's first VA synth kind of officially labeled that way. They had kind of sample plus synthesis in the D50 and the JD-800, which was like kind of like early VA, but Nord kind of, with its release of the Nord lead, created this nomenclature of virtual analog and created this kind of mania that went through the 90s and stuck with us till today with virtual analog and better modeling and nicer sounds and more realistic sounds, all the way up to the Boutique series today, which is incredible in terms of its ability to model analog synths. But this was Roland's first VA synth, and it doesn't really sound like the analog synths from yore, but what it does do is a lot of things well. It is in its oscillator shapes, those interesting, the super saw, triangle mod, noise, and feedback oscillator, it's really nice. The other thing that's really cool is it has motion control, a nice arpeggiator, and with the motion control, you can record movements on different parameters and create movement it's almost like you had four hands, so you can move a slider and record that, and then when you play, you hit the motion control and you can have that movement done over time, and it's a very nice feature. It creates a nice patch, creates a lot of movement. It's also got a lot of hands-on controls. It's pretty knob for function in terms of what it can do. I like it better than the JD-800, which came out prior to that. Different kind of engine, different idea, more in the line of the D50. I think this is a return to form in that it really is everything right there where you can touch, click, change sound on the fly. It's probably a little bit less deep in terms of its sound design and where you can go, but I don't mind it. I actually like having everything at my hands and being able to just turn knobs and play real time. That also said, the tone in this is great. It's very mid-rangey, bassy. It's got a great kind of just character tone. I think it's super full. I found it really pleasant to listen to. Josh and I were talking about it, and we were just surprised that when I got this the same time as the MS-2000, which has also got a wonderful tone, but very different. This is definitely does Roland very well. It gives you Junos, it gives you Jupiters, it gives you TB-303s. There's some patches in here that are, I think there's like a Legato TB-303 patch. I think that's what it's called. But it sounds like a 303. And so you can do a lot of the different classic Roland sounds, but you can do more as well. You get that crazy trance-like tones, you get dual and split sounds, and can create a lot of interesting kind of new things as well as do the old kind of virtual analog, its own flavor of it, which I think personally is very nice. So let's take a listen, and we'll conclude with some thoughts as to whether or not it's worth it, what it goes for in the market today, and how unique it really is. Let's take a listen. So there you have it, the JP-8000. I think it does the Jupiter series justice. It was the first digital Jupiter. I think that's interesting in it of itself. And Roland really did a good job. It's interesting, the default patches in there, you can see a love and an understanding for the heritage they already had at that time and the way they're labeled. I think the first patch is called Chariots, which is a reference, I think, to the iconic Chariots of Fire soundtrack that's got a bunch of great analog gushiness in it. But yeah, it's a great synth. It's a lot of fun. They have crept up in price in the last year quite dramatically. They're going for upwards of $800. Used to be able to find them sub 500 as recent as a year ago. You could still find them for $500 if you look hard enough, but they've really crept up to the $1,000 range. There is a rack mount version, the JP-8000, that adds, I think, a few notes of polyphony as well as a vocoder and some other kind of cool things. And it's got a nice metal kind of casing. It's a little more industrial and high quality in terms of, I think, the way it's built. This one had encoder issues, not this specific one, but a lot of the dials and on these are known to go bad over time. And that's not as true for the JP-8000 from what I understand. But overall, great synth, great sounding, really hands-on, a lot of fun. I am personally impressed by it. I think it doesn't get enough love. It's too associated, in my opinion, with trance and those type of sounds. It does it very well, but it also does a lot of other things very well. Would love to hear your thoughts. What do you guys think below? What other synths should we check out that are like the JP-8000? Is this the best of the original VA synths? Would love to hear other people's thoughts below. You can find us at alamomusic.com if you want to talk more. If you didn't hit subscribe, I'd appreciate it if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching today. Until next time.